but Marco asked if you could like tag that onto the end, and I said sure, why not?
Okay.
So that'll be 7 hours of entertaining.
Will there be many people there for his birthday?
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay. All right, well, we're sorting out our plans, but I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of Tell Me Where I'm Going Wrong, a podcast where two exes who are still good friends talk about pop culture, politics, music, movies, and so much more. I'm Sean, and that's Josh. Hi, Josh. How are you?
Hello, Sean. I'm fine, thank you. My allergies are off the charts today.
God, so bad.
Someone came over to look at my plant collection, which sounds like a euphemism, but it's not. And I was choking, like I was going around the garden and I was choking. I mean, it was almost like turning purple, like I couldn't breathe, like something got stuck in my throat. And I was just like, ugh. It was horrendous. But yeah.
That happened to me a few days ago. I walked to the bookstore, Gaze the Word, and I walked through. Do you know where the back of where? Sorry, this is very hyper local for people not from London, but is it Brunswick Square or what's that little park next to the Brunswick Centre?
What, the square? Not Russell Square.
No, it's right next. Like if you go out the back of Waitrose and the shopping centre where the cinema is,
Yeah.
there's like a square there, like that. Just
the other
across.
square.
Yeah, is it called? Is it called
Brunswick Square?
I what it's
so.
called. Anyway, walking through there, the pollen was like thick in the air, like it was hitting me in the face.
Mm-hmm.
I was sneezing so violently, and my eyes were streaming water. My nose was running, and I had to go into Gaze the Word. I'd ordered a book, and I had to speak. I couldn't talk. Like they must
That was
have
like
thought
me today. Exactly like me.
I
What
looked like
book
I
did you
lost my
order?
mind. It's by an author. I think it's called. I think their name is Adam McQueen, and it's called Haunted Stories or Haunted Tales. Next time I'll show it on the thing. I like to do a little book recommendation, but he. Do you know? Oh, my brain is all over the place. But
Blame the allergies, Sue. That's what I've been doing. Brain fog.
What's that political satire magazine here in the UK with Ian Hislop?
Private Eye.
Private Eye. There's a Private Eye podcast.
Sorry, Private Eye. Because I don't know if you saw a few episodes ago, we were criticised by somebody on YouTube. Just one of the many criticisms we get on YouTube for not pronouncing our T's correctly.
See, I just take that as an insult to my culture and my heritage because my Australian accent. So anyway, there's a podcast by the Private Eye people, and one of the people that hosts on there is a guy called Adam McQueen, and he's a queer writer. He's written books, some fiction and non-fiction. He has a series of like crime thrillers, but recently his most recent book is a collection of short horror ghost stories that he's written, and it sounded interesting when I heard about it. So
are they queer themed or?
Well, I don't know about these stories, but the series that he writes about this detective, this queer detective, obviously they've got queer themes to them. I think they're like set in the olden days, and the detective.
Yes. Someone at work was telling me about this series.
The detective is like a rent boy or something, or like a sex worker turned investigative detective or something like that. So anyway, I was interested in who this person was, and I was reading about his journalistic endeavors, and then I saw that he'd written books. So I wanted to order it through an independent bookstore that I support. So I ordered it through Gaze the Word and went in and picked it up. But going back to the hay fever, I could barely get the words out to talk to the people. But I eventually managed. Do you take antihistamines or hay fever medication?
Yeah, I do. I take every morning. I take fexofenadine.
And did that not help you in your?
It does, but in the past sometimes I've doubled up. Like I've taken one in the morning, one in the afternoon. So I might have to start doing that again. But
yeah,
it's
quite a debilitating situation you can find yourself in with the hay fever. Like, it takes over your whole respiratory system and you can't do anything.
But it's not just respiratory either. Then it does make you very groggy. Like, it makes me very sleepy.
Yes.
The other day
Yeah.
I was just yawning and yawning and yawning throughout the day, and I'd slept okay, and I don't normally do that, but it
That
must have
must be
just been
tough for you to know whether it's the hay fever or the sherry making you sleepy.
sherry.
What are you on?
Sherry? No, I'm on. Well, tonight I'm on a Malbec. I'm on red wine.
Oh, the Malbec
But
sea.
it's port. Port is normally my
Oh, port.
tipple of
Is
choice,
port
but
and sherry not the same thing?
not really. I mean, I suppose they're closely related because they're both a sort of like a fortified wine, but they're very different. They taste
Okay.
very different.
Well, talking about not being able to breathe and respiratory systems,
Yes.
have you seen the news this week about the smoking ban that is going to come into effect?
Yeah. Yeah. So is it anybody born after 2009? No. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So the smoking ban means that anybody born from the 1st of January 2009 will not be able to buy any cigarette or tobacco related products
Mm-hmm.
forever for the rest of their life in the UK.
Legally.
Legally. Well, yeah. I mean, anything like, yeah, you're not allowed to drink till you're 18, but kids do. And um, but the ban takes effect on the 1st of January 2027. The bill was called the Tobacco and Vapes Bill because it's got other parts attached to it, restricting where people can vape and use vapes, what sort of vapes can be sold in the UK, where they can be sold, like they can't be sold from vending machines. I wanted to ask you, because I got very confused hearing about this ban the other day. How are they going to enforce it? How are they going to
Mm.
know that somebody was born after that date?
Well, I suppose any retailer that has cigarettes or tobacco products is going to have to ask, like the same with alcohol. If somebody looks like they could be within the age range where it's not legal, they'll have to ask for ID. Um,
Okay,
but
but
but that age will change every year, won't
yes.
it?
Yeah,
Or
so in 10
every day, in fact. Like
yes.
if somebody was born, yeah.
Well,
So
no, it won't change that it won't change every day. It's always
oh,
gonna
because
be
it was born
anyone who yeah,
after that date. Yeah, yeah,
but the people are gonna get older. So,
yeah.
in 10 years' time, somebody might not be able to eyeball somebody and think, "Oh, you look like you were born around 2008." Like,
Hmm.
that would be a very difficult thing to do when
So
someone's 30 or 40 or 50.
at some point, like a 70-year-old would be like, "Oh, I'm too young
Yes.
to buy cigarettes."
Yeah.
Um,
So, I wonder, like, the logistics of it, are they going to just card everybody, like ask everybody for ID just to check. And
Maybe.
if
I
the
mean,
birthday is before that date, and how weird that somebody who is maybe born one day before that could buy cigarettes, but somebody born on that date
yeah.
can't.
I suppose it's like a lot of things. It's seen as part of a much wider measure or wider measures to slowly wean people away from tobacco products across society, and this is just seen as one way of doing that. Because you think, when we were kids, how widely accepted smoking was. I mean, you could smoke anywhere. You could smoke on
Yeah,
aeroplanes. You could smoke on the tube. I mean, it's wild to think now how prevalent it was.
yeah.
And so I suppose the idea is that by doing this, less people will take up smoking. But I do wonder whether it's research backed. Like, I mean, all drugs except for just a handful are
Yeah.
illegal to purchase, no matter what your age, and yet that doesn't really stop people.
No, but
Um,
I think it stops a lot of people. I think that there are a lot of people that having that even psychological barrier, it's a legal barrier, but it's a moral barrier. Having that there for them would stop a lot of people. Whereas,
mm,
like with alcohol, it's legal and most people drink. because there's no incentive not
but
to. There's
no,
no
they don't.
barrier.
They're like, I think there's like a lot of statistics showing that like Gen Z just don't even drink anymore. Like people, I don't know if that's I don't think the sort of licensing around alcohol has changed that much, but just culturally, I think there's been a big shift away from alcohol and drugs. Um, and a lot of like Gen Z people don't drink, or they're like, twice a year. Whereas our generation, it was the norm to drink relatively excessively, and it was kind of weird if you didn't. He says, taking a
But
sip of
yeah,
Malbec.
I know. I was going to say, well, who are you talking to?
Excessively, Sue. This is just a Saturday night little tipple.
Well, we won't get into the fact that yesterday when I asked you, would you like to do the podcast a day early, you were too hungover to do it.
So that was one of the worst hangovers of my life, and it was my leaving drinks on Thursday night, and I just had so much wine bought for me, which would have been really rude to refuse. And so, yeah.
Well, getting back onto the cigarettes, how do you feel about the government implementing these controls? What do you think from a sort of a freedom of speech, a freedom of determination? How do you feel?
From a libertarian
Yeah,
point of view,
yeah,
I think I think two sort of opposing things at the same time, and
hmm
I think that it's good in a way to make access to tobacco harder and to make it more not stigmatized, but to just put barriers in place, because tobacco is really bad. It does kill a lot of people and make them very ill, um, but so do a lot of other things, and I'm not sure. See, I'm of the mindset that all substances should be decriminalized, but that there should be government programs and funding available to help people who have addiction or substance abuse, and that includes everything,
yeah.
including tobacco, including alcohol, prescription medications, anything.
But
Um,
you say that, but one of the problems is that companies, because of capitalism, are incentivized to get people addicted to these things. And we could say the same thing about food and sugar and fat and oil and fried food. And so alcohol, vapes, cigarettes. So no matter what you do to help people who get addicted, the problem isn't being cut off at the source. And that's what needs to happen for there to be any effective change, right?
and what's that? What do you think the problem at the source is?
That people market these products to, like, companies market these products to society, and they do it in a way that is exploitative and often targets young people.
Yeah, but I think you've got to go a step even further back than that, and I think that a lot of substance abuse and addiction issues can be directly um, linked to mental health issues, trauma, socio-economic factors, and I think
Yeah,
that it would be better to address those. So to have
yeah,
less stratified society, to have more equality in terms
hmm
of pay, in terms of quality of living,
yeah,
access to excellent healthcare, things like that. And I think that really is where they should focus their efforts, because if they did that, they would be nipping it in the bud, so to speak. Whereas putting measures in place to restrict people's access to substances and to drugs, it's sort of like trying to put a band-aid on a much deeper wound.
yeah. Well, this is where I think the main problem lies, is everything you're saying there would require the opposite of what's happening in reality to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know it's pie in the sky. I know. But then,
And
add capitalism into the mix as well, and the free market and these companies that, I mean, blatantly advertise harmful products. There
yeah,
was the massive court case in the 80s where the tobacco industry was found to have actively advertised its products knowing that there were health risks. And there was that ruling not long ago, maybe last month in the US, where YouTube, I think, was found guilty of deliberately targeting the addictive personality traits or addictive behavior.
Well, it was Meta, wasn't it?
Was it Meta? Maybe it was Meta. Yeah.
I thought it was Meta.
Knowing full well that they were exploiting young minds and the sort of permeability of young minds.
One interesting thing I read today about smoking was that approximately 15% of smokers, long-term smokers, develop lung cancer. And I thought it would have been higher than 15%.
Yeah, it's not as high as you would think.
But also, I think it's secondary as a condition for smokers to heart disease. I think that heart disease affects many more smokers than lung cancer does, and I found that a surprising fact. But like we said with like how we talked about, we wish GLP-1s, Manjaro could be affordable because they're part of a broader system of care for the community. It's a similar thing. Like you need to do something about people having easy access to cigarettes and the marketing around them and how they target young people, because that's just one element of how you need to approach that. Otherwise, you're then looking after people who are sick and unwell and dying.
Yeah, you're criminalizing behavior when that behavior stems from a place of need and a place of care. And so if you restrict access to something, even though it could be deemed unhealthy, if it's used as a coping mechanism, and you restrict access to that, well, what's that person going to do? They're not going to be like, oh, well, I can't smoke cigarettes, so I'll go and get some therapy and make myself a healthier, more well-rounded person. That's just not realistic, is it? I mean, they're probably going to use another substance, or who knows?
Yeah. Pivot to the next subject, which I've been very, very interested this last few weeks in preppers. So not people who take prep, but people who prepare for disasters. And there's, surprisingly to me, there's this whole community of people in the UK and around the world, but I got involved in the UK prepping scene, who live their lives as if a disaster is about to happen, and they put things in place so they will survive. So people doing things like building food pantries and stocking them with rations, building weapons, teaching themselves survival skills, how to live rough or camp wild or live rough, have like they call them bug out bags. So to bug out is when you like leave a situation really quickly in a hurried way. It's a term that's like a military term from decades ago.
It's not like I'm bugging out, man.
Well, that's probably the etymology of it, of that saying. Use of the saying is from this as well.
Don't they use that in the John Waters Hairspray movie? Bugging out.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but so there's all of these YouTubers. I'm sure if Michelle's watching this, she'll know some of these people. But some of these channels like Charlie Survival, UK Urban Prepper, The Funky Prepper. Like, honestly, these people, it is so wild to me how they live. And there is this UK Summer Prepper Meet in July this year, 2026 in Wales. It's a 3-day campground thing where they all get together and they talk about ways that they're prepping, what they're worried about, things they're hopeful about. They sell things to each other like guidebooks or weapons or instructions how to make weapons. And I don't know, like I want to ask your opinion on this, but I don't know what I would do if that sort of scenario happened. Like, would I try and survive, or would I just sit here and go, well, look, that's it. I'm not going to go into the wilderness.
Just resign yourself to
that's your blooming lot.
Death. I I'd never heard of the term prepper until you emailed me or messaged me yesterday and were like, oh, I think we should talk about this on the pod. So I started looking.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I'm a prepper, but I feel like I'm sort of prepper adjacent because I was reading,
Okay.
I think you sent me a BBC article, maybe. I'll put it in the show notes,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps. I
Yeah.
was reading a BBC article and I was like, a lot of what the people were saying, I was like, I do that. I do a lot of those things.
Like what sort of things?
I'm not going to do it now, but like I've got like my bag that I take to work and stuff, right? You wouldn't believe the amount of shit that I carry around in case I need it. So like, I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't know if you've got anything like this in your life. Like if there are things that with your sort of internal dialogue, it makes sense. It's like perfectly rational. As soon as you say it out loud, it sounds absolutely
Tell
ludicrous.
me
And
some of
like,
these things that you
so
have in your
like I've
bag.
got like long pieces of string and like, you know, like a very thin rope in case,
What for?
in case, I don't know, in case something needs to be secured. Or I've got those clips that you get from IKEA, like plastic clips that you can seal up bags of, you know, crisps and nuts and stuff with, like that. I carry around Lemsips even when I don't have a cold. I mean, it's she's not well, you know, like
Yeah, fake cheese are
it's
hurting.
a manifestation of like mental illness probably, but it just um it
Well, yeah,
makes me think I'm prepper adjacent. And I've got I stockpile food at home as well. And when I use a can of something, I will go and buy replacement for the backup. Do you know what I mean? So like I've always got like
yeah.
4 or 5 of everything in case. And so I feel like I'm very prepper adjacent.
Well, you are. You're getting into prep. Maybe if you watch some of these videos, you might
This
get the fever.
this could become a prepper podcast.
Well, also, like, I don't know if it was in that BBC story, but this person was talking about how he never goes on public transport or like the London Underground without a first aid kit in his
And a
bag.
scarf, right? A
And
scarf.
yeah, in case he needs to wrap it around his face for protection or
Uh-huh.
I don't know, use it as a tourniquet
Uh-huh.
and I don't know, like to me, it's a little bit stressful to live in that heightened state of alert.
Believe me,
Like
it
it
is. It is.
like I've got enough neuroses and stuff going on that if I had to think about, oh, the canned peaches are down to 3 when I had 7, or, you know, I've got packets of quinoa in the cupboard, cooked quinoa.
Mm.
I'm down to 20, so that wouldn't be enough to last if like there was a like London shut down for 6 months. That sort of level of I would find very anxiety inducing, you know?
Well, it is. And
But
on a serious note, I do think that my sort of base level of anxiety is higher than it probably should be. And that has obviously physiological ramifications, like higher cortisol levels and stuff like that. And I do think it's probably not a good way to be. But at the same time,
yeah.
you know, in some ways, in some twisted logic, like carrying around those things, I think it makes me less anxious because it makes me feel like, oh, I'm prepared for
Okay.
something bad to happen. Um, so yeah, it's
Yeah.
very
And
weird.
but one thing I that struck me watching and reading about these preppers and um, you know, like Charlie Survival, UK urban prepper, funky prepper, is how unique they think they are. Because how many people are in the UK? Like, is it
About
90 million?
65 million.
65 million. If the worst case scenario happened and the electricity grid went down, the power grid went down, supermarkets closed, uh, you know, there was no transport, there was no like, you know, waste removal, there were no toilets. How these people think that there is going to be any chance of them having a little plot of land to themselves somewhere where they can just survive and live out the disaster is
Mm.
so it feels very
Well,
narcissistic to me.
it depends what the catastrophe is that happens. Um,
Yeah.
if there was some sort of chemical leak, explosion, then it could be that some people would have land and others would all be dead or diseased or ravaged or whatever. I think, like, not to diminish people's experience of lockdown, but for me, I I really thrived in lockdown. I And part of that I think is my sort of misanthropic tendencies to like just avoid people in general. But part of it was this
Yeah.
sudden sort of like, oh, I can do this. I've stockpiled. I can. I mean, and I'm privileged enough to have a garden. I could grow things. I could grow fruits and vegetables and herbs and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that only strengthened my prepping tendencies, because now I'm
But like
always in
you
the back
said,
of my
that's
mind.
you were in a very privileged position to have like space, and
Yeah.
you weren't living in a house with like 8 people. You had outdoor space for your like mental health. You could go for walks. It was safe enough to go for a walk.
Mm,
I mean, if we were looking at like a really catastrophic situation, like earth shattering, where you
mm.
couldn't even really go outside, I just feel like there's not much planning that could really get you prepared for that. Like you think you could, but this planning that these preppers is doing is like everything's got to go the way that they think it's going to go for all of their planning to pay off.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And it's almost like it's just delaying the inevitable, perhaps, because if there was
Yes. Yeah.
a nuclear holocaust or I don't know, whatever happened, whatever natural disaster or humanly created disaster happened, okay, you might have food, but you're not going to have like a whole 2 years worth of food. And even if you did, it wouldn't be enough to like sustain you on a healthy diet. Like you'd get fucking rickets or scurvy or something. Like it's,
Rickets.
well, no, I mean, if you're not getting like vitamin C and stuff like that, like,
Yeah.
like I think it's like I was saying before about me and like putting a piece of string in my bag. It kind of in some way appeases my anxiety about something, but realistically,
Yeah.
it's not gonna do shit, is it? When like stuff really goes down. Um,
Like, what if you're on the 65 and it turns over and somebody needs 2 pieces of string to save the bus from blowing up and you've only got 1 piece of string?
well, it's long enough that I could cut it in two, but but then in my mind, with my sort of catastrophizing
Yeah.
mind, I think, well, if there was an accident and somebody needed a tourniquet, well, I'd have a piece of string, and like it's stuff like that, which when I say it out loud does sound ludicrous.
Well, what
But
about in that documentary, there was or one of the documentaries I watched, there was a guy who lives in a tent or a teepee or somewhere, and he's got a computer. So the video was a few years old, so it was an old desktop computer. And he
mm,
had a hard drive or a floppy disk or something that had 25,000 books on it. So he picked what he thought were the 25,000 most important books from human history. So in case everybody else on the planet died, he would be able to have knowledge to help people rebuild and
yeah,
reclaim
that's a
human
little bit like
knowledge.
Messiah. What's the adjective? Messianistic?
Complex, Messiah
The
complex.
Messiah complex. Yeah, that's a bit sort of ridiculous. Like I just would want to have enough food to eat, and that's and water to drink. Like they're the sort of main things.
Yeah.
When we lived in Mexico, of course, everyone has an earthquake kit in Mexico, and that has to have like tinned food and a tin opener and a torch and a radio and bottled water and stuff like that. So that's a more realistic scenario, isn't it? Because
Yeah. Well,
earthquakes are common,
there are
including
things that really happen. Yeah.
yeah.
Talking about Messiah complex, you watched a documentary that I recommended to you.
Mm.
Do you remember the name of it?
It's called Trust Me: False Prophet, and it's about the FLDS, which is and I never know what the F stands for.
Is it fundamental?
Fundamental, yeah, fundamental Latter Day
I don't
Saints
know.
I think it is fundamental
Yeah.
Latter-day Saints. But this particular documentary was about a town, or I don't know if it's a city exactly, in northern Arizona, right near the border with Utah. And it is really disturbing, but it's a fascinating documentary. And if you've got access to Netflix, I do recommend it. It's, I think, 4 parts, 3 parts, maybe 3 parts.
Yeah.
Um, and really well worth watching. It's about a couple, Christine and Tolga, and they are uh, filmmakers, content creators. They do a lot of different things, but they basically go undercover and befriend this guy called Samuel Bateman and infiltrate his cult. I mean, it really is
His
a cult.
his polygamous cult.
His
Yeah, polygamous cult.
he tells he decides that he is a prophet. Um, and it's just really, really sad and disturbing. He has 23 wives. And how many was it? I wrote it down. 23 wives, 9 of which were minors. So 9 of his wives were younger than 16. And
Yeah.
it sounds, and this is happening in in the last couple of years. This is not 20, 30 years ago. It's outrageous to
Yeah.
me that the police were so slow to react and respond. And in fact, it wasn't the police in the end that did
Yeah.
respond, it was the FBI. But
Yeah. Well, what's fascinating to me when I watched that documentary, and I was talking to Hill about this, everyone in those communities would be adjacent to that way of life. So I
yes,
don't think, like, if you've got a police officer or a police chief who's been in that town for decades or grew up there, they're probably not really going to be the first person to lean on if you're looking to blow apart a polygamy setup.
right.
And it really needed to be people from outside there, like the
The
FBI, to
FBI,
come in
yeah.
and do it. But it took so long.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, the police justification was that even though he'd married a 15-year-old, and I think there was maybe even a 13-year-old. I mean, it sounds ridiculous to say out loud, but there was no evidence that they had consummated that marriage, that there was a physical sexual relationship, or AKA sexual abuse slash rape. But
yeah,
it's just harrowing to watch, but also incredibly fascinating. The way that this couple infiltrated the cult.
and if you get involved in reading about the history of why the fundamentalist LDS people broke away from their, I mean, I use the term mainstream LDS, even though to me that's also a cult.
Mm.
It is very fascinating why they did it and how they broke off into different sects or to different variations or derivatives of the religion,
Mm.
and that they were their belief is that this is the way to heaven, right? Is to
Yes.
have connections, spiritual or whatever they believe it is, connections with multiple women, and that the women have to be connected. What's the term they use to when somebody is joined? It's not
Um,
tethered. It's some sort of, I forget what the
yeah.
term is, but if you're not, when you die, you can't go to whatever their
Into
version
the
of
heavenly
heaven is.
kingdom. Yeah. But what really struck me when I was watching it was thinking about the cult of MAGA and the cult of Donald Trump. And
Yeah.
I know that this isn't an original thought. I know that Michael, what's his name, Michael from If Books Could Kill and Maintenance Phase. Um, I know that he's spoken about it before. That Michael, what's his name, Hobbs? No,
Hobbes.
Hobbs.
Hobbes.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
when somebody is in a cult, and let's talk about MAGA as a cult, it doesn't matter what the leader of the cult says or does, people will find a way. They'll do all sorts of mental and ethical and moral gymnastics to make it okay. So that's like when
Yeah.
Trump comes out with these outrageous or disgusting things, they'll find a way to justify that to themselves and to each other. And
Yeah.
it really struck me many times watching that documentary of just how similar it was. You know, intelligent, rational people who would allow their 13-year-old daughter to marry, uh, well, a man, let's just say, I mean, a sex criminal, but a man for the purposes of that scenario. And
Yeah.
believing that
I
because he was a prophet, they were in a cult and he was the prophet, believing that they had to do that, even though they knew, and I won't give away too much because you should watch the documentary, but even though they knew kind of deep down that it was not okay, but they found a way to make it okay, believing that that was their
yeah.
religious duty. Um,
What one thing I would just say for anyone who's thinking of watching it, please be warned, it is incredibly harrowing. It's not something if you find it difficult to watch stories of sexual abuse or exploitation or controlling situations, don't watch this if you find it too distressing. But the way that this documentary was made was absolutely mind blowing. It's like incredible how this couple infiltrated this cult and exposed it. One thing that was really interesting to me is, do you know there was the mother of one of the Sam's wives who helped blow it all apart from the inside? How she was still a disciple of Warren Jeffs, who is
yeah,
that original. Like she didn't. She still now, I believe, I was reading, is still believes that Warren Jeff, who was in prison for similar crimes,
yeah,
she still believes that he's the true prophet. And it's
yeah,
just like, well, she could see it, what was wrong with Sam Bateman, but she still now has the framed picture of Warren Jeffs in her house. It is just wild how these people live. Like it is
mm,
on another level.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so take a look at that. But that kind of ties in really to that prepper thing. I can see a lot of similarities that people are vulnerable and they're
Well, yeah,
looking
this is
for
it.
some sense of control.
I was just trying to think of like how to frame it, but yeah, like I think we've spoken about it. I know, like that people need a belief system. People need
Yeah,
to feel like they belong to a community or to a framework in which to sort out the chaos that is existence and life in the universe. And
yeah,
unfortunately, that sometimes comes in the form of Samuel Bateman or Warren, what's his name? Um,
Jeffs.
Jeffs. So yeah, and it's and like prepping for some people is the thing that they think, oh, okay, that's going to make me feel better about the chaos that existence is. And some people it's religion, some people it's I don't know, some people it's a glass of Malbec on a Saturday night.
For some people, it's Lady Gaga. Have you seen much about the upcoming release of The Devil Wears Prada 2?
Not that much. I mean, obviously, I've seen the trailer, I've heard the song. That's about all I know. I mean, I think most of the main cast have been reunited. Um, I
Yeah.
don't
So
know.
I think it was at one of the premieres in the US the other day, there was Stanley Tucci, Emily Blunt,
Anne
Meryl Streep,
Hathaway.
and Anne Hathaway, and they brought Gaga up on stage
Oh, nice. Okay.
because I didn't know how much she was involved, but apparently she's got at least 3 songs in the film. She is in 2 scenes of the movie, so she
Okay.
acts as herself, and she
Wow.
has scenes with Meryl Streep, and she performs a song in the movie. And Meryl Streep was saying in an interview yesterday that she had the pleasure of acting with Gaga, and very graciously said that Gaga acted her off the screen. She said that Gaga is a better actor than me. And I was
Even
like,
though
well,
she was
that's
playing
very, very
herself.
kind of yeah, but I mean, that's very kind of Meryl Streep too. Probably one of the greatest actors of our generation
Mm.
and of all time, really. Um, but what's incredible is that all of the reviews I'm seeing are rave reviews about this movie, saying it's a lot of fun, it's really well made, it pays a lot of respect to the original. Do you know how long ago the original movie came out?
I would say it must be about at least 15 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's 20.
Yeah.
And when
We Do you
when
remember we saw some of it being filmed on the Lower East Side? Do you remember where
No, I
Baby
don't
Cakes?
remember
I don't
that.
know if Baby Cakes still exists on the Lower East Side, but do you not remember? So we were
Yeah.
in New York in 2000 and oh my God, I don't even know. Five, I think, 2005. And we were seeing like these notices up about filming things, and we were like not we were Googling it, but we somehow found out that it was Anne Hathaway involved. And then when you see the film, The Devil Wears Prada, there are scenes like on the Lower East Side, like where she meets friends for a drink or whatever. Um, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I do have a slight memory of that now that you say that, and yeah, I do remember it being near Baby Cakes. But yeah, it was 20 years ago it came out, and I think originally when, Meryl Streep was in it, I think she was 57 years old when she played the Miranda for the first time,
So she's
and
77 now.
it's incredible. She must be, and I don't know, maybe we need to fact check that, but that seems quite old, doesn't it? Like, but she's like the lead in this film again. She's getting rave reviews. That it really fills me with a lot of I don't know, goodwill or sentiment that she sees the value in doing uh, the sequel to something that's quite often considered a throwaway, like a chick flick or something. You know
She's
that is a bit
76. I
like
just checked.
poppy.
I don't think it's
Oh,
seen as
okay,
that. I
yeah,
think it's seen as one of the more enduring films of the last, I don't know, last couple of decades. Like it's still, I think, within a sort of certain camp category. I think it's seen as one of the more enduring films like that, and Mean Girls perhaps was maybe a similar era. Um,
yeah.
I think it's still a good film. I rewatched it a few years ago, and it's still great. I mean, the
How many
performances
times have
alone.
you seen it? Do you think?
I think I've seen it 3 times. Emily Blunt is
I've
just
seen it definitely
amazing in it.
more. Oh, yeah, she's perfection. What's your favorite quote from the original?
Oh God, put me on the spot. I think there's something like, "Oh, florals for spring, how original," or something like that.
Yeah, I think she says florals for spring, groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking.
And
Oh no,
then the other
my
one when
favorite
she
quote is no, my favorite quote is that wasn't a question.
oh yes, no,
Yeah,
that wasn't a question. Or when
yeah,
she says she asks for the book and she says, by all means move at a glacial pace. You know how
you know
much
it
that thrills me.
thrills me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's great. I'm looking forward to it. I think it
How
will be camp.
has a oh yeah. Are you gonna go to the cinema then and see it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
There really hasn't been a character and an actor paired together more perfectly, I think, that I can really think of. I mean,
Well,
Meryl Streep doing that role is perfection.
yes. Except the only thing I would say is I went to see with our friend Amy. I went to see the Devil Wears Prada musical here in London last year, and um, and Meryl Streep's character was played by Vanessa Williams, who, of course, I know mostly for playing Wilhelmina Slater in Ugly Betty, which was a very, very similar character. I mean, obviously a bit more ridiculous and
Yes.
evil and conniving, but it was
Yeah.
that was a perfect person to play Miranda Priestley. Is that her name?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
In the musical because, of course, I already thought of her as Wilhelmina Slater. And I would say Wilhelmina Slater was equally perfectly cast. Well, I mean, Vanessa Williams was
Yeah.
equally perfectly cast. I know we need to wrap up. Sorry, I'm just looking at the time.
Yeah. Yes,
What
we
do we need?
do.
What do we need to talk to
We
people
do.
about?
Well, anyway, yeah, you got anything to say?
Well, wherever you're listening to or watching this episode, please do subscribe and leave us a comment and let us know where we're going wrong. I'm sure there are lots of ways in which we are going wrong. Other than that, you can follow me on Instagram at Josh and the Jumpstarts. You can stream my music if you search for Josh and Jumpstarts, and I will earn a very, very tiny fraction of a penny for every play. So I thank you in advance. What about you, Sean?
And you can go to fatgayvegan.com and find out everything that I'm up to, what I'm eating, about my vegan beer festival coming up in September. Early bird tickets are on sale. Or follow me on Instagram at fatgayvegan. But thanks so much for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and let us know in the comments if you have watched any of the things we talked about, and especially about the preppers and what you think of the smoking ban. We'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Leave comments. But until next time, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again.
I've got to go. I'm bugging out.